Hey guys, what is up? So in this video, I'm going to break down Alex Hormozi's personal brand, the same brand that's helped him print millions through his content and businesses and build one of the most influential business channels on YouTube. Now, at first glance, you might think that Alex hasn't given his brand much thought. I mean, between running a multi-million-dollar company, writing books, posting daily content, and trying to stay in shape, you'd think that branding probably isn't at the top of his priority list, right? But you'd be wrong, because here's the thing, no one gets this far in content without some kind of brand. I've worked with very big YouTubers like NDA level big, and trust me, they all invest in their brand. Alex is no exception. Every part of his brand is intentional. The clothes, the editing, the colors, the setup, nothing is random. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly why each of those choices works for him, and more importantly, what you can learn from them. Okay, we're gonna start with what you don't really see. Let's do a quick thought experiment. When you hear the name Alex Hormozi, what three words come to your mind? Let me know in the comments, but I'll tell you what comes to mind. First, workaholic, but the good kind, you know? The kind who genuinely enjoys outworking everyone else. Second, simplicity, someone who ruthlessly cuts out the unnecessary to focus only on what truly moves the needle. And third, authentic. Alex doesn't flash his wealth, which honestly is the hallmark of someone who's actually rich. He's focused on substance, not appearances, and he shows up exactly as he is. No sugarcoating, no beating around the bush, just direct, real talk. That to me is Alex Hormozi in a nutshell, and I bet your answers were along the same lines, plus or minus some references to the gym, working out, or even steroids. But the question is, how do we know this? Well, it comes down to what he says and how he says it, and the key thing here is that these two things match. Here's an example. So this reel is about hard work, which is one of Alex's core values, and how you can't really avoid it if you want to succeed. But look at how he's delivering the message. He's probably walking around his neighborhood shirtless with his mic clipped to his chest hair. He looks like he's put zero effort into his appearance, but that's intentional. One, because he knows it'll generate engagement. Two, because he wants you to focus on the message, not on a Rolex. And three, because if he was saying the exact same thing but from a yacht in Ibiza, it would totally undercut the point. Like, why is this guy preaching about hard work while clearly he's on holiday with an Instagram feed that screams passive income? This is the first reason why Hormozi's brand is so strong, because it's coherent. What he says matches how he says it and what he does. That level of alignment isn't just inspiring, it builds trust, especially with his target audience, who are mostly guys who are serious about building a business, not 16-year-olds who are going to be impressed by a Lambo. The second most important element of his brand is storytelling. Alex is a brilliant storyteller. There's not a single video where he doesn't share a story, whether it's his own experience or something that happened to someone close to him. That not only increases his average view duration, it also makes his content feel more personal. People feel like they know him. It's easier to connect with him and believe what he says. And one of the most powerful stories he tells is his origin story, the classic rags to riches arc. He quit a comfortable consulting job at 26, went broke, moved across the country to open his first gym, and ended up sleeping on the floor of that gym because he couldn't afford rent. Then he was betrayed by a close friend, he made expensive mistakes, some really bad things happened, but through hard work, perseverance, and little support, he built it all back. Now, I'm sure that sounds familiar, and that's because it is. You've probably heard some version of that story from many other creators like Iman Gaji, Luke Belmar, or Samuel Anuha. That's not a coincidence. A strong origin story is one of the most powerful tools in a personal brand. It builds trust, makes you relatable, and also different from everyone else in your niche. Because, you know, people can copy your content word for word, but they can't copy your lived experience. They don't have the same background, the same failures, the same turning points. That's what gives your content its edge. Now, you might be wondering, what if your origin story doesn't feel as dramatic as your favorite YouTubers? Well, if that's your case, honestly, don't stress. Most of them have taken at least some creative license. I'm not saying you need to lie, but it's okay to zoom in on the parts of your story that shaped you and frame them in a way that shows growth. That's what storytelling is. And trust me, most of your favorite creators do it all the time. That's why when people actually take the time to fact check, they often find inconsistencies or details that don't fully add up. Like any good book, your story has to be interesting. But yeah, going back to Alex, we've talked about his values, his stories, and how they align. But that coherence also shows up in something that most people overlook, his visual identity. Now let's take a look at his clothes. You know, when people come to me asking for help with their brand, They often say that they want their visuals to feel premium, aesthetic, high-end, polished. But honestly, that's not always the best move. Sometimes it's better to be relatable, to keep it minimal and let the value in your content do the talking. That's exactly what Alex does. If you're familiar with his content, you've seen it. He always wears the same outfit. The cap with his company's logo, the stringer, the wedding ring, which is made of rubber by the way, the same shirt in every video, shorts in summer, maybe a nose strip. And you know, he's kept his look consistent for years. You can go back and find videos from ages ago and he's still wearing the same outfit. Now, he says he does this for practical reasons, and I believe that, but that's not the whole story. When you show up online wearing the same thing every time, you start to build visual consistency, and that's a core part of personal branding. And of course, clothing is also a powerful way to send a message. When you see Alex, you instantly know what you're going to get. No BS business advice from someone who clearly values substance over image. It's a subtle but powerful way of saying, I'm not here to impress you, I'm here to give you something that works. And that message lands because it communicates focus, discipline, and authenticity. It shows that he practices what he preaches, getting rid of distractions and doubling down on what actually matters. And what's clever about it as well is that it also makes him relatable. He's not showing up in suits or flexing designer brands. Like, if you know Alex, you know how weird that would be. He's wearing what works for him, and that makes him feel more human, like someone that you could actually learn from, not someone who's performing success for the camera. That sort of thing builds trust. So no, you don't need to spend thousands trying to make your brand look aesthetic. I mean, if you like that, fine. But branding can also start with just wearing the same few things every single time, wearing the same few things consistently, especially if they already reflect who you are and what you stand for. And you know, I doubt Alex sat down and designed his look either. He probably just found what worked, which happened to be what he was already wearing every single day, and he stuck with it. The repetition is what made it iconic, and that's what branding is all about, consistency over time. Now, your clothes and accessories are just one part of how your brand shows up visually. Your filming style, editing, thumbnails, fonts, and color choices also matter. And this is where you really see how intentional the Hormozi brand is. Let's start with colors. So until recently, if you've been following him for a while, you know that his profile pic had a bright yellow background. Now, he's temporarily changed that to green for the promotion of his new book, which is coming out in August, I think. But the yellow, like the yellow that he used to have as the background of his profile picture, that's been a staple of his brand for years. And it's not just for looks. According to color theory, bright yellow represents energy, clarity, confidence, and optimism. It's a color that grabs your attention instantly, which is exactly what you want when someone's scrolling past your face on YouTube or Instagram. And what's even more interesting is the way it pairs with the bright purple accents in Alex's video edits. Purple is the complementary color to yellow. That means they sit on opposite sides of the color wheel, and when used together, they create high contrast and visual harmony, which is why they stand out and look so polished. This is a subtle detail, but it shows that Alex has thought this through. He's not just throwing content out there. There's a system behind the brand, and that intentionality carries through to the rest of his visuals. His videos are long, but the editing is minimal. No jump cuts every 2 seconds, no flashy transitions or distracting sound effects, just him at a desk, writing on a massive sheet of paper with minimal graphics, bold sans serif fonts, and a few clean camera angles, front, side, and overhead. It feels high quality, but without trying too hard. It tells you, this isn't some crappy video that I need to trick you into watching. It's valuable information, it's a business masterclass. And that same logic applies when he uses whiteboards. Like, he could pay an editor to animate everything and make it super aesthetic, just like Iman Gaji, but he doesn't. He draws it out live in real time. So whether it's a whiteboard, slides, or a giant sheet of paper, it feels like you're learning from someone who actually knows what they're talking about. It signals authority, and it attracts the kind of audience that actually wants to learn, not just be entertained. So yeah, Alex's brand works because it's consistent, intentional, and rooted in who he actually is. He's not trying to be anyone else. He's just doubled down on his strengths and made it really easy for people to understand what he stands for. And that's the point of this video, not to copy Alex, but to show you how powerful your brand can be when everything aligns: your values, your story, your visuals, and your delivery. Now, if you need help with any of this, if you're struggling to stand out online or convert with your content, just click the link in the description and book a free strategy call with me. Worst case scenario, you leave with more clarity on what parts of your brand need work. Best case, we end up working together and give your brand a complete 360. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for being there, and I'll see you in the next one.